After I restored her broken ship, the alien queen whispered, "Come with me, human." The wreck drifted silently beyond the edge of mapped human space, a dark shape against the scattered stars. No distress signal came from it, no automated beacon, nothing that would normally attract attention. But Elia's row noticed it anyway, because human engineers learned long ago that silence often meant danger or opportunity. Elias guided his small salvage ship closer, careful not to trigger any unknown defenses. He had worked alone for years, fixing broken satellites, abandoned stations, and lost probes that others considered worthless. Out here, far from laws and fleets, survival depended on patience and careful thinking, not weapons. The ship before him was enormous, larger than any human cruiser. Its surface did not look metallic in the usual way. It curved like bone and skin fused together, glowing faintly as if it were alive. Deep cracks ran across its hull and several sections were completely dark. "This is not human," Elias muttered to himself. His scanners struggled to read it. Power levels were near zero. Life signs were strange. Present but slow, almost sleeping. Against better judgment, Elias docked. Inside, the air felt heavy, thick with unfamiliar scents. The corridors were wide and tall, shaped for beings larger than humans. Soft light pulsed along the walls, dim and uneven like a heartbeat struggling to continue. Elias moved slowly, tools ready, helmet sealed. He followed the strongest power trace toward the center of the ship. What he found there made him stop. A vast chamber opened before him, filled with strange machinery grown together like roots and veins. At its center stood a raised platform. Upon it lay a figure unlike any alien Elias had seen before. She was tall, even seated, with long limbs and skin that shimmered like dark glass. Fine patterns of light moved beneath her surface. A crown-like structure rose naturally from her head, not worn but grown. Restraints of living metal wrapped around her body, glowing faintly red as if struggling to hold her in place. Her eyes were open. They were deep and sharp, filled with pain but also awareness. Elias froze. Every instinct screamed at him to retreat. This was no ordinary alien. This was someone important, dangerous. Yet she did not move. She only watched him. Slowly, carefully, Elias raised his hands to show he carried no weapon. I'm a salvager," he said, unsure if she could understand him. "Your ship is damaged." Not destroyed, sabotaged. Whoever she was, someone had tried to kill her by letting the ship die around her. Elias swallowed. Leaving now meant the ship would eventually fail completely. Everyone inside would die. He looked back at the alien queen. "All right," he said quietly. "Let's see what I can do." Power flowed like water. Breaks could be found. Elias traced damaged energy lines, bypassed failed organic circuits with temporary human wiring, and used his ship's generator to feed power into systems never meant to accept it. The ship resisted him at first. Systems rejected his inputs. Alarms screamed. But Elias was stubborn. Humans always were. Hours passed. Slowly, the ship responded. Lights stabilized. Power levels rose. Life support fields strengthened. Throughout it all, the queen watched him in silence. Her expression never changed, but something in her eyes did. Curiosity, perhaps, or disbelief. At one point, Elias collapsed to one knee, exhausted. He had burned through half his supplies and most of his emergency power cells. "Almost there," he whispered, more to himself than to her. With a final connection, the core steadied. The ship exhaled. The restraints around the queen dimmed from red to soft blue. They loosened slightly, no longer draining her strength. For the first time, she moved. She rose slowly, testing her limbs. The air around her shifted as if responding to her presence. Elias took an instinctive step back. She stood tall, towering over him, yet she did not attack. Instead, she inclined her head. "You are human." "Only interest. My name is Elias," he said carefully. "I didn't know who you were, I just found your ship." "You were sabotaged," Elias said. "Internal damage, deliberate." External sensors flared to life. "Unidentified vessels approaching," Elias said, reading the data. "Multiple signatures, they're armed." Not fast but responsive. If we reroute power from secondary systems. When he finished, she gave a short, sharp laugh. This is not how wars are fought. The Queen's ship vanished behind a sudden, chaotic maneuver that no Veil commander would ever approve. Confused and uncertain, the enemy fleet withdrew. Silence returned. Elias slumped against a console, breathing hard. Told you. You saved a queen you did not know. But he did not step away either. The alien ship moved through deep space like a wounded giant, its engines humming unevenly as Elias worked to keep them stable. He had not slept properly since restoring the core. His hands were stained with sealant and burn marks, but his mind stayed sharp. Out here, mistakes meant death. Jaren stood on the bridge, watching the stars shift as the ship jumped between safe routes. The bridge itself was vast and living, its walls responding to her presence with gentle light. Elias felt small there, like a guest inside a creature's heart. The crew began to wake. One by one, armored figures emerged from their stasis chambers. They were tall, broad, and clearly bred for war. Their eyes fixed on Elias instantly. Weapons formed from their armor, organic blades, and energy nodules growing into place. The tension was heavy. A human, one of them hissed in their own language. He stands on the Queen's ship, another said, unbound. But their stares remained sharp, full of disbelief and anger. Elias kept his posture neutral. He had learned long ago that fear could be smelled by predators. I fixed the ship, he said simply. You're welcome. But we're hard to stop. Her reforms weakened the old war houses, shifting power away from endless conquest. Many nobles hated her for it. Sabotage was their answer. They would rather see the Dominion burn than change, Jaren said quietly as she and Elias stood alone near the navigation pit. Humans know that kind of enemy, Elias replied. Sometimes the worst threats come from inside. You speak as one who has seen collapse. Scavengers who followed damaged ships like sharks. The Veil ship was strong but not ready for open battle. Its main weapons were still offline. We can't outrun them, Elias said. Engines won't last. Your ship is alive, right? If they think there's nothing to gain, they'll move on. Relief washed through the crew, though many still stared at Elias with unsettled expressions. Kethvar spoke again, quieter now. You fight without claws, without honor. The walls shifted to close behind them, creating a space that felt intimate and heavy with meaning. You should not be here, she said. By our laws, you would be executed or enslaved. I don't want to be your enemy. If you help someone because you expect payment, you stop being human. Stand down, Queen Jaren, a voice boomed across the channel. You are declared unfit to rule. Elias rerouted thrust in a way that bent space pressure around the hull. The ship slid sideways, not forward or back, vanishing from the enemy's targeting field for a single critical moment. It was enough. The enemy fired and missed. The shockwave damaged their own weapons. Before they could recover, Jaren transmitted a command code Elias had helped repair earlier. The noble ship systems locked down. The battle ended without destruction. Silence followed. On the bridge, the crew stared at Elias with something new in their eyes, respect. Jaren turned to him. You have altered the fate of my people twice now. Then you are more than a guest. Across the galaxy, sensors tracked them. Messages were sent. Assumptions were questioned. Elias spent most of the time working, upgrading systems that had never been meant to accept human input. He wrote translation layers, built simple controls, and taught the ship to tolerate mistakes instead of punishing them. The living vessel resisted at first but slowly adapted. Jaren watched all of it. You change even machines, she said once. Elias wiped grease from his hands. We change because we have to. If we don't adapt, we don't last. Light flowed along them like veins. Hundreds of warships stood guard, all turning slightly as Jaren's vessel approached. The reaction was not welcoming. Weapons tracked them. Challenge codes demanded confirmation again and again. Only after Jaren broadcast her authority did the defensive grid ease. Elias felt every targeting lock like a weight on his chest. "You may leave now," Jaren said quietly as they prepared to dock. "No one will fault you for it." "That's dangerous." "A human." "Because we don't need fear to function." The nobles scattered in chaos. Elias did not think, he moved. He pulled Jaren behind a fallen structure and slammed a portable shield into place. The air burned with heat and noise. Assassins dropped from hidden vents, their armor marked with noble sigils. "This was planned," Elias said, breath tight. "Yes," Jaren replied coldly. "And poorly." He was bleeding from a shallow cut on his arm. He did not notice. Jaren placed a hand on his shoulder. "You saved my life, again." Of tactics that defied prediction, smaller powers reached out cautiously, traders asked questions, militaries adjusted threat models. Then the invasion began. A force from beyond known space struck without warning, attacking both Veil borders and nearby human colonies. Their technology was ancient and overwhelming. Planets burned, fleets broke, panic spread. In the War Council chamber, Veil commanders argued loudly. Old doctrines failed. Their strategies assumed dominance, not defense. Elias stood at the edge, watching. "They don't fight for territory," he said finally. "They fight to erase resistance. This is what they look like. Make every victory cost them more than it's worth." The enemy did not understand it. They expected fear. They met refusal. Battle by battle, the invasion slowed. Then it stopped. When the final enemy vessel retreated beyond the edge of space, the galaxy exhaled. Afterward, there was no celebration, only quiet understanding. In the council hall, Jaren addressed her people. Humanity stood when others fell, not because they were ordered, because they chose to. It ended with quiet work. Damaged worlds needed food, power, and hope. Broken fleets needed repair. Refugees needed safe places to live. Elias Rowe found himself busier than he had ever been, moving from ship to ship, station to station, fixing what others could not or would not touch. Humans arrived in small numbers at first. Engineers, medics, pilots, teachers. They did not come as conquerors. They came because someone needed help. The Veil watched closely. Many expected humans to demand territory, titles, or weapons. Instead, they shared methods, simple ideas, redundant systems, fail-safes, ways to keep things working even when everything went wrong. "This design is inefficient," one Veil scientist complained as Elias showed him a human power grid layout. "Yes," Elias replied calmly. "But it keeps working when half of it fails." This time there were human representatives present, standing quietly at the edges. No one mocked them now. A noble lord rose. "The human has influenced too much," he said. "Our traditions weaken." Below them, ships moved in controlled patterns, Veil and human side by side. "You have changed the direction of an empire," she said. Elias shook his head. "No, I just showed you another way." "They don't need me to lead them," he said. "They just need the door to stay open." A few with open hostility. Threats followed. Warnings, predictions of failure. Then came the test. A distant system went dark without explanation. Long-range scans showed signs of artificial collapse. A star's output had been altered. Entire worlds were at risk. The council hesitated. The system lay outside Dominion space. Intervention carried risk. Elias spoke quietly. "If we can help, we should." Together they reached the system and found the cause, an ancient machine left behind by a long-dead civilization still running a broken command. It was destroying the star to power itself. Veil weapons could shatter it, but doing so would finish the star completely. Elias examined the data. "It doesn't need to be destroyed," he said. "It needs to be convinced to stop. The star's output is spiking." Humanity saved what others gave up on. In the weeks that followed, invitations came from across known space, requests for aid, for cooperation, for understanding. Elias could have returned home then. He felt the pull of it sometimes. Earth was still there, still loud, still human. But when he stood on the bridge of Jaren's ship, watching unfamiliar stars, he felt something else too: purpose. One evening, as the ship traveled between systems, Jaren joined him at the viewport, the stars reflected in her eyes. "My people are uneasy," she said. "They say I trust you too much. But not this." He thought of the wrecked ship he had found alone in the dark, of a broken queen and a dying vessel, of a decision made without thinking of reward. He nodded. "I'm with you," he said, "as long as we keep choosing to help." Across the galaxy, civilizations adjusted their charts, their doctrines, their fears. Humanity was no longer a footnote. They were not the strongest. They were not the oldest. But when something broke ships, stars, or hope itself,